Hello, and welcome to Precon Decon, the video series where I deconstruct the pre-constructed decks of Magic the Gathering's history. We're going to keep looking at Betrayers of Kamigawa theme decks. We're going to look at Ninjutsu, so quite a step down from the heady heights of Rat's Nest now, so we're a return to normality. Ninjutsu is mono blue. And we've got deck list here. So we've got 22 creatures, 8 enchantments, 3 instants, 3 artifacts, 24 land, and we've got mana curve off to the side there. So yeah, it's kind of weird. It's taken until now to get a blue deck in Kamigawa because up till now it's been every color apart from blue, and mostly because blue in Kamigawa is not super great. As we'll see, there's a few cards in here that are still not wonderful. But anyway, so Betrayers of Kamigawa gave us ninjas, which is great because ninjas are cool. Everyone likes ninjas. Ninjutsu, I think, is a really fun mechanic. Basically means whenever you have a creature attacks and it isn't blocked, you can pay the ninjutsu cost of a ninja in your hand and you swap the unblocked attacking creature with your ninja. And then your ninja can then do damage, and they usually will have abilities that trigger off dealing damage to an opponent. So, a selection of ninjas here. That is the theme of the deck. So one of the rares in the deck is Higure, the Still Wind. He is 5 mana for a 3/4. Whenever he deals combat damage to a player, you search your library for a ninja, reveal it, put it into your hand, then shuffle your library. And you can pay 2 to make a ninja unblockable until end of turn. So yeah, Higure is super good. He's like obviously a really good like ninja lord. Then we have 3 Mistblade Shinobi. 3 mana for a 1/1, but whenever it deals combat damage, you ninjutsu it only for 1, which is really good. Whenever it deals combat damage to a player, you basically do unsummon, you bounce a creature back to the hand. 3 Ninja of the Deep Hours. This guy is Ninja of the Deep Hours is really, really good. I think might be the best out of all the Kamigawa ninjas, honestly. 4 mana for a 2/2, ninjutsu him for only 2. And when he comes in and when he deals damage to a player, you draw a card. Yep, just really, really good. Really good. Ninja of the Deep Hours is pretty great. And then a single Walker of Secret Ways. So this is a bit weird. So 3 mana for a 1/2, ninjutsu for 2. Whenever it deals combat damage to a player, you can look at their hand, which is alright, but not as impressive as like bouncing a creature or drawing a card. You can pay 1 cost and 1 blue to return a ninja you control back to owner's hand, but you can only do it during your turn. I'm not sure how useful that ability is. I guess it saves your ninjas from from dying to removal if it's your turn, or I know you can block with them during your turn, and then bounce them back to your hand, and then then they're ready to ninjutsu out again. I don't know, maybe it's fine, I guess. But this was it. These were the 4 blue ninjas in the block. This was it, because ninjas were only in blue and black. Arguably, I think they should have been in green. I think there should have been like some snake ninjas. I think that would have been really cool. Because the thing is, like, green got really done dirty, honestly, because samurai were in like white, red, and a bit in black. Ninjas were in blue and black. So green had nothing. Like green didn't get the 2 iconic like Kamigawa tribes. So a little disappointing. So then we have some creatures here that help your ninjas get through and deal damage. So 2 Minamo Sightbenders. It's 2 mana for 1/2. X and tap, target creature with power X or less is unblockable this turn. I think that's pretty good. Not amazing, but I think it's alright. You know, this deck, like the ninjas, typically have quite low power. So yeah, it's just a fact. You can make, if you sink enough mana into it, you can make just something unblockable for a turn. I think it's alright, honestly. There's certainly worse cards. Like Soratami Mirror Guard. So it's kind of weird it's saying all these decks to get to Soratami, because Soratami were like the blue tribe in Kamigawa, like they were the main humanoid tribe, and it's crazy. It's actually taken us this long. So what, we're 7 decks in now to Kamigawa to see a Soratami card. So Soratami, they the Moonfolk, they all have flying, which is cool, but they all have abilities that rely on returning lands back to your hand. Which I don't think it was very popular at all, because it just sets you back. I think the best one by far was the legendary guy Meluku, who made spirit tokens. So like that was something you didn't mind doing, but a lot of them just had usually like really weak effects, and it just wasn't worth setting yourself back a turn to get these effects. So for example, like the Mirror Guard here, 4 mana for a 3/1 flyer. Okay. But 2 return a land you control to owner's hand. A creature with power 2 or less is unblockable this turn. Like, that's not worth returning a land back to your hand, in my opinion. Like, you've got the Sightbender. You could do exactly the same for 2 mana and tapping him. I suppose the thing here is like you could do it multiple times, but then why would you want to? Why would you want to return multiple lands back to your hand? I don't. Yeah, I really think the Soratami were like such a misstep in design, honestly. Um, and then 2 student developments. So this is one of the flip cards. Kind of weird actually. There's 2 of them in this deck. Normally in these precons we've only had 1 of each of these flip cards. But you play it as student developments. 2 mana for a 1/1. I think it would have been fine just be 1 mana for a 1/1. Honestly. So when it gains flying, there are some ways of doing that, but you have to jump through some hoops. When it gets flying, you flip it, and then it becomes Tobita, Master of Winds, who's a 3/3, and gives all your creatures flying. So again, really helps your ninjas be evasive and get through and deal damage and get their effects off. And then this one is now a bit of filler. So we have a single Teardrop Kami. So 1 mana for a 1/1, sacrifice it to tap or untap a creature. Yeah, I think that's okay. It's yeah, perfectly fine. It's perfectly fine as a 1-drop. Either taps a blocker, or stops an attacker, or you can do a surprise blocker, I suppose. Yeah, Teardrop Kami is like okay. Get an extra extra use out of the Sightbender, I suppose. Yeah, Teardrop Kami's okay. 2 Kaijin of the Vanishing Touch. I really like this card actually. So 2 mana for a 0/3 defender. Whenever it blocks a creature, that creature goes back to its owner's hand at end of combat, which I think is pretty good. Like it's really good deterrent. People don't really want to attack into it if they see you've got this because you'll just block it. Like your creature, your Kaijin might die, but whatever. It's like 2 mana for a 0/3. It's not like you're losing anything too valuable, and like you could bounce a potentially huge threat. And then your opponent's got to cast it all again. So yeah, Kaijin Vanishing Touch is all right in my books. 3 River Kaijin. This is just Horned Turtle, but it's a spirit. It's just a fairly boring but solid defensive creature. Sure. And 2 Soratami Cloud Skater. So 2 mana for a 1/1 flyer. 2 tap. No, not tap at all. 2 return a land you control to owner's hand. Draw a card, then discard a card. So again, it's okay. So it's a cheap flyer, so it's okay for your ninjas. It has a loot effect, which is okay. At the very least, you're guaranteed you could discard the land you just returned to your hand. If you've got nothing else you want to discard, that's a possibility. Yeah, it's okay, but like, I'm so upset the Soratami were done really dirty by this design because they were so unpopular. Like just their abilities, like they just ended up being overcosted flyers, really, because no one really wanted to use their abilities. And then one of the other rare of the deck is Tomorrow, Azami's Familiar. So quite expensive, 6 mana for a 1/5, but he has this kind of cool ability. If you would draw a card, you look at the top 3 cards of your library, you draw one of those, and then the other 2 go on the bottom of your library. So it's this kind of like card selection thing, which is like I think it's a pretty strong effect. The fact he's just 6 mana though takes forever to get out, and when he gets out, he sort of like does nothing the turn he comes out, and he's just at the end he's just I don't know, kind of high toughness. It doesn't do anything else. It just helps your draw power. Like I don't feel like it's justified being 6 mana. Yeah, I reckon. I think this would have been fine if he'd been maybe like I don't know a 2/2 or a 1/3 or something, and like quite a bit cheaper. So like you would get. If you drew him early in the game, you'd get his benefit sooner because it's a good benefit. It's just, too expensive in my opinion. Then moving on to non-creature spells, so we have a single Field of Reality. This is quite a niche effect, really. So 3 mana aura. Enchanted creature can't be blocked by spirits, and 1 color and 1 blue. Return Field of Reality to owner's hand. So you put it on something else. Kind of weak in my opinion. Kind of overcosted, really. Again, like if you're playing these decks against each other, sure. Like if you're playing, say, like I don't know, like the Kami Reborn or the Spiritcraft deck, which is the one we'll look at next time. Like, this makes your creature essentially unblockable for their whole deck, but I don't know, it's fine. I was actually surprised it doesn't say like protection from spirits. That would, I think, be a lot more interesting and a stronger effect. But yeah, as is, I just think it's a little expensive. It's just one of these overcosted Kamigawa auras, which yeah, just has a very narrow effect. Two Genjo of the Falls though. This is an alright aura though. So one blue goes on an island. Two Enchanted Island becomes a 3/2 blue spirit creature with flying slender turn. It's a land, and then when if the Enchanted Island is destroyed, you get Genjo of the Falls back to your hand, so you can put it on another island. This is pretty good, I think. Just the fact you can do this like first turn, and then if you ever need it, then you can suddenly turn an island into a 3/2 fly, which is like a decent size. Yeah, I think that's okay. Obviously, it doesn't really have great synergy with your ninjas because you then if you return the eye, if you sneak this through and ninjutsu it, the island goes back to your hand, so it doesn't count as destroyed. So the Genjo of the Falls comes off permanently. But I think this is a perfectly fine card otherwise. And then 3 Mystic Restraints. So I guess this is another way of helping your ninjas get through. So 4 mana, flash. When it comes to play, tap the enchanted creature, and it does untap during a controller's untap step. So yeah, at the time, I think this would have been fine because it's because dehydration was still around, and dehydration is just 4, and the creature doesn't untap during its untap step. This at least taps the creature down, and it has flash. So though that's in its favor. Yeah, I think it's all right for the time. 2 Phantom Wings. So here's a way of giving your student elements flying. So 2 mana, enchanted creature has flying, sacrifice Phantom Wings, enchanted creature goes back to owner's hand. So yeah, fine to escape combat or a removal or something. Yeah, perfectly fine. Makes a ninja more evasive, which is really what you want to be doing. Yeah, it's okay. A single hinder, 3 mana, it counters the spell. Hinder is actually pretty good. It was, but yeah, so 3 mana counter spell, and if it's countered, you put the card either on the top or the bottom of the owner's library instead of into the graveyard. So in a lot of ways, this is usually preferable to most counter spells because like you could just put the card on the bottom of the library. Usually, a lot of decks don't mind if something's in the graveyard. There's they might have ways of getting it back. Where if it's on the bottom of the library, it's a lot harder to like get it back. And this was, I think, kind of infamous in early days of Commander, because the rules are now like if your commander goes anywhere apart, basically if it leaves the battlefield anyway, you can put it back in the command zone. Whereas early days of Commander was like if your commander got countered by this, you just put the commander on the bottom of the deck and be like, right, well, you're not getting your commander anymore. Like, but now these days, like, there's the rules to stop, like, a commander getting tucked into a deck and just then inaccessible to the player. And a single Lifted by Clouds, 3 mana for an arcane instant. Target creature gets flying till in turn. That's very expensive, 3 mana. And has Splice onto Arcane for 2, but you have no other arcane spells, so that's completely useless text. We have a single Minamo's Meddling. It's 4 mana, you counter a spell, and then it also causes if any cards were spliced onto it, your opponent has to discard all those cards. So like pretty niche, honestly. But I think if you're countering spell and like you make them say discard like 1 card from it, I guess it's okay. But I still think it's pretty niche. That's just my experience. I never really saw anyone really play with Splice at all, so I don't know how useful this really would have been. 2 Ronin War Club, 3 mana equipment. Equipped creature gets +2/+1, and whenever a creature enters the battlefield under your control, Ronin War Club goes onto them for free. So obviously goes really, really well with the ninjas, which is weird considering it's a Ronin War Club and like it has good synergy with ninjas. That's kind of a bit weird to me. And it has Equip 5, which is obviously like super expensive. So for like the cost is so high compared to like the buff, which is like good, but it's not great. It's not amazing. So yeah, but this goes really well with the ninjas. Obviously, they come in and this goes straight on them and they hit for harder. Yep, it's fine. And a single shuriken. So 1 mana equipment. Equipped creature has unattached shuriken. Shuriken deals 2 damage to target creature, and then that creature's controller gains control of shuriken unless it was unattached from a ninja. So kind of a few hoops to jump through there, but basically you can just have your ninjas throwing shurikens at people. And honestly, like 2 damage is fairly chunky. Like just to equip 2 and then immediately tap, unattach it, 2 damage. Yeah, I think that's fine. That's fine. I think it's okay. So what could have been? So I think the deck is, it's all right. It's all right. Mono blue in Kamigawa is pretty weak in my opinion, but I think it's doing the best with what the available card pool is. I mean, the only thing is, I wish. Yeah, I mean, the main thing I wish, honestly, the ninjutsu deck should have been. I think it should have been blue black, honestly, just so it could use all the ninjas. But we decided to split all the ninjas between Rat's Nest and this one rather than have a single blue black ninja deck. So I guess we'll do that. But just some examples, I think, what could have gone here instead. Um, Shimmering Glasskite is a 2/2 flying spirit, and it has like this ability where first the first time it gets targeted by something in a turn, it gets countered. So you have to kind of hit it twice. Toils of Night and Day just lets you tap and untap something. Veil of Secrecy. I'm really surprised Veil of Secrecy actually wasn't in this deck because it makes something unblockable until end of turn. So yeah, that would have been perfect. Consuming Vortex is a bounce spell. Again, there's not like a bounce spell in here, which like you'd sort of expect to have. Alternate rares. So I think the rares in here are okay. No, tomorrow is. I'm really not. I'm really not so keen on tomorrow. So I think one of these three would have been better. I don't have no idea how to pronounce this. Nikote, I guess. Yeah. If I mangle the pronunciation in these cards, I'm sorry. But yeah, so it's 3 mana equipment. Whenever equipped creature deals damage, whenever equipped creature deals damage to a creature, it gets tapped, and as long as Nikote remains in play, that creature doesn't untap. And whenever a crit creature deals damage to a player, they lose 1 life. I don't know, would have been okay, I guess. Makes things kind of reluctant to block ninjas. This would, I guess, slowly lock down creatures that get in the way of the equipped creature. Because they stay tapped for as long as it's in play. So they'd have to get rid of the equipment to untap their stuff. So yeah, that could be potentially okay. Kira, Great Glass Spinner. This gives like the glass kite effect to all your creatures. So like the first time they get targeted by something, that it gets countered. So yeah, that would have been good. And also it's just 3 mana, 2/2 fly, which is all right. And Threads of Disloyalty is just 3 mana, like mind control effect, but it can only go on creatures with mana value 2 or less. That's just maybe a bit limited, but I think it would have been still a bit better than tomorrow. So yeah, in summary, I did have this deck. I thought it was okay at the time. I did kind of play, I think, 1 game with it out of the box, and then immediately kind of like then bought some of the black rat ninjas. So then it was more like, right, well now it's a ninja deck because it has all the ninjas. Haha. Yeah, I really don't know why they decided to split the ninjas between 2 decks, because the ninjas were like the big thing about Betrayers of Kamigawa. That's what got people excited, really. So in summary, I do think it's okay as as it is. Like there's a few duff cards in there, but overall I think it's all right. But definitely room for improvement. But that's just my opinion after sort of like seeing the deck and like seeing the cards. What were your opinions of this deck? Did you have this deck and did you play it? What changes did you make with it? Stick a comment below. I'd really like to hear your stories. But I'll be back next time and I'm going to look at the last deck from Betrayers of Kamigawa. But until then, thank you for watching and listening, and have a great day.